You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's now shift gears to the defensive side of the ball, and a name that we need to talk more about is Clarence Lewis. Clarence Lewis is a 5'11", 200-pound corner with just this year of eligibility left. He was picked up in the offseason. He was a 3-star transfer from Notre Dame, and this is someone who brings a lot of experience to Syracuse overall, like not just the defensive back room. Overall, he brings a ton of experience because over the last 4 years at Notre Dame, Clarence Lewis has played in 50 career games. In those 50 career games, he also has 3 interceptions and has a defensive touchdown as well on his resume, which came this past year against Tennessee State. Now, at Notre Dame, his playing time was gradually reduced. He started as a true freshman in 2020 in the college football playoff against Alabama. The following season, he played a lot. He had 53 total tackles. But from then on, his playing time decreased while at Notre Dame. But he was still a great teammate who worked really, really hard to at least stay a scholarship athlete at the very least. But he was a solid contributor within the locker room, as one of his cornerback teammates in Jaden Mickey said, quote, "He's always been like a big brother to us. He showed us what it was to work from when we first came in. He is probably one of the hardest workers I've ever been around." And then he went on to say that we're going to miss having him out there and being around the team, but he has to do what's best for him. And he's obviously, what that quote signals is that at minimum, Clarence Lewis is someone who is experienced and is a great teammate. But really the main reason that we're talking about him right now, because that was all just a setup, is the fact that he might be one of the top 2 corners on the team, which means he might be starting in 11 days. We don't have an official depth chart yet, but the way it might be trending is Clarence Lewis starting on one end with Devin Grant, the Buffalo transfer, on the other, followed by Jaden Bellamy and Marcellus Barnes as cornerback 3 and cornerback 4. So we better get used to Clarence Lewis because he could be one of the starting corners for this team. He needs to be talked about a little bit more. Like I said, he brings a ton of experience, not just to the defensive back room, but to the entire team. But let's talk about the secondary and why it's better for this upcoming season and why Clarence Lewis contributes to that. Think about the experience on the roster, or just in the secondary, okay? You got Justin Barron, a returning senior with nearly 50 games played under his belt, who was an ACC honorable mention last year. So I would consider him a pretty experienced college player. Elijah Clark, a safety, returning senior with over 30 games played. Deuce Chestnut, a corner or safety, but he's going to play corner this upcoming season. A redshirt junior with 28 games played and is also a 2-time All-ACC player. And now you also have Clarence Lewis, who has played in 50 career college games. I know I've talked a lot about Jaden Bellamy being a breakout candidate for this team, and I spoke about how Marcellus Barnes is a pleasant surprise because he is a true freshman. It doesn't hurt to learn from a guy like Clarence Lewis, who has played at Notre Dame for the past 4 seasons. Notre Dame is one of the premier college football programs in the country. It is. Now, I don't remember the last time they won a national championship, but year in and year out, they're always in the top 25. Always. It doesn't hurt to be able to learn from a guy like Clarence Lewis. And for someone with only 1 year of eligibility left, it's going to be really valuable to learn from him because he's not going to be here for very long. And hopefully guys like Jaden Bellamy and guys like Marcellus Barnes could kind of take a thing or two from a guy like Clarence Lewis so that they are ready, assuming they're not ready in 2024, that they are ready to start in 2025. Clarence Lewis, in my mind, is a solid cornerback addition. I was excited when they got him. I said at minimum, he's someone who can provide experience and provides good depth. But hey, he might just be a starting corner for this team, so he deserves a lot of love. Once again on this episode, we're going over two players who need to be talked about more. We went over Justice Ross Simmons and how he could be a starting wide receiver for this team. And now we're going over Clarence Lewis. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Another player or another couple of players you think need to be talked about more, because these two guys in Justice Ross Simmons and Clarence Lewis could be starters in just 11 days, and they need a little bit more coverage. Both of them have a lot of experience. Both of them have been productive. I have high hopes for this season for Syracuse, in part because these two additions.